The realtor said the house was a steal. It should have been, because it steals time. The last place I'd want to buy a house is in the middle of nowhere. But when I saw the price tag on this one, I couldn't pass it up. The only problem was, whenever I turned around to show my wife, the realtor would be gone, and the sign had vanished. It's been a week since we moved into our new home. So far, it's not what I expected. For starters, all the clocks in the house stopped working the day we moved in. Not just stopped, they froze completely. The hands stuck like glue to the glass. It's creepy, but that's part of the reason I bought it. I love watching old horror movies and staying up late, listening to ghost stories. This house was cheap because something scared people away. I think it's amazing. Another strange thing is, every day is exactly the same. I wake up, have breakfast with my wife, then I go to work, come back, have dinner with my wife, and then sleep. Every day, no matter what day of the week it is, there's no variation. I asked my wife if she's noticed, and she said she thinks I'm crazy. She says she sees nothing wrong. I don't know if it's the isolation or what, but I feel like I'm going insane. If you can hear the ticking, it's driving me nuts. It wasn't always there. It started about 3 days ago. I found this old journal in the attic. The cover is leather, and the pages are made from some kind of thick paper. What's weird is the date on the first page is 2 years from now, and all the entries are written by me. I don't write journals, let alone one set 2 years into the future. I asked my wife if she writes a journal, and she laughed at me. I haven't told her about most of the weird things that have happened here. I didn't think it was important, and she seems happy enough, so I don't want to ruin that. This morning, I woke up before my wife. As I poured coffee, I walked past the mirror and saw myself beside my wife. I stopped and looked again. It wasn't a dream. It was happening right now. I watched as I held my wife close after, smiling at each other, and then I heard myself laugh and I looked away. It took a while to process what I saw. Did I somehow travel in time? Was that a premonition? Or am I losing my mind? That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the vision in my head over and over. I remember thinking, maybe it's best not to know certain things. What I saw could happen, but I don't want it to. At 3 a.m., I got up and went to the kitchen. The moon hung heavy in the black sky outside. I stared out the window and wondered how someone else could live in my house without me knowing. I used to think of myself as a good husband, attentive and caring. I never take my wife for granted, but now I'm beginning to wonder. Am I really the attentive and loving husband I think I am? Maybe I am, and maybe I'll never know. My wife slept peacefully beside me. I wish I could. My eyes opened wider. There was a knock at the front door. It sounded like someone was trying to break in, but when I checked the peephole, no one was there. I don't want to call the cops. I'm embarrassed to admit it, but I'm starting to freak out a bit. I'm questioning everything I thought I knew. Maybe I didn't buy a haunted house. Maybe I bought a house where time moves differently. The knocking grew louder and more insistent. I felt my wife stir beside me. I tried to get her attention, but she turned away from me. I'm sure she heard the knocking, though. No one ever visits. We're in the middle of nowhere. We would be out this late. It's 3 in the morning. As I listened, the pounding at the door became rhythmic, like someone marching with a drum. I walked toward the door hesitantly and peered out the window. I didn't see anyone, but I could feel their eyes on me. For a moment, I stood frozen, unsure what to do. The noise continued, growing louder until it seemed like it would burst through the wooden surface. Suddenly, it stopped. I didn't move, didn't breathe. The silence stretched on, broken only by the pounding of my heart. Then slowly, very slowly, the knocking began again, louder than before, more urgent, more frantic. And then the voice. It was my voice. I knew it was me. The voice sounded tired, desperate, like it was coming from another time. The voice spoke again. This time it was louder, more insistent. It was me, but not me. The voice echoed strangely, like it was coming from a distant place. It called my name over and over, growing louder, more frantic. Then it stopped. The silence was deafening. I waited, holding my breath. Then the voice began again. Closer now, right outside the door. It knocked once. Then it stopped. I fell to my knees. My whole body trembling. Fear turned to panic. I stumbled back, knocking over a chair. The voice at the door began to speak again, whispering my name. I ran to the bathroom, locked myself inside. I leaned against the cool tiles, trying to catch my breath. The knocking at the door continued, steady, relentless. The voice called my name over and over. Then suddenly it stopped. I stayed huddled in the corner, my heart pounding, waiting. When the knocking started again, it was fainter, more distant. I could still hear the voice, but it was weaker now, fading away. I watched as the knocking slowly came to a halt, replaced by an eerie silence. I sat on the cold bathroom floor, shivering, my mind racing. How long did I stay there? I don't know. I eventually calmed down and went to the living room. It was morning. Sunlight streamed through the windows. My wife was awake now. She looked at me, concern etched on her face. "What's wrong?" she asked softly. I forced a smile. "Nothing," I whispered. "Just a bad dream." Her eyes still held worry. We ate breakfast in silence. I couldn't bring myself to talk. The previous owner, whoever they were, tried to warn me. I feel like I'm being pulled into this place. If I can't escape, I might as well make myself comfortable. I picked up the journal again. It's bound in leather, heavier than it looks. Turning the brittle pages, I found my entry from today. It was the same words I wrote earlier, but with one chilling difference. The date at the top of the page read 2 years from now. I reread the entry, my stomach clenching. The handwriting was undeniably mine, yet the words felt alien. Was this a warning from my future self? What did it mean? Was I fated to become the previous owner? The knocking returned. Each tap echoed through the silent house. I could feel the vibrations in my bones. The knocking intensified. More urgent, more frantic. It was as if whoever was on the other side was growing impatient. I approached the door cautiously, my hand hovering over the knob. Taking a deep breath, I turned the knob and opened the door. Standing in the hallway was a figure. Their face was obscured by the shadows, but I could sense their presence. The figure beckoned with a finger. I hesitated for a moment, then followed them into the darkness. I stepped into the hallway, the door closing behind me, plunging me into darkness. A single word echoed in the silence. "John," the voice whispered. It was my voice, but not my own. The figure turned, revealing a face I recognized. It was me, but older, my features etched with weariness. The eyes, though, held a haunting familiarity. The older version of me gestured with a sad shake of the head. Then he turned and walked away, disappearing down the hallway. I called out to him, my voice echoing. He didn't answer. With a mix of apprehension and curiosity, I began walking towards the light. As I stepped further into the hallway, the air grew colder. The light at the end seemed to beckon, offering a glimpse into the unknown. The older me turned and smiled sadly. "Come with me," he whispered. His voice was filled with a deep sadness. Hesitantly, I followed him deeper into the house. The hallway stretched endlessly before me, the flickering light casting long, distorted shadows on the walls. I couldn't help but feel a sense of dread creeping up my spine. The older me continued walking, his steps slow and measured. I struggled to keep up, my mind racing with questions. Why was he showing himself? Suddenly, the older me stopped, turning to face me. His eyes, filled with a profound sadness, seemed to hold countless stories, countless warnings. "Don't follow me," he whispered, his voice heavy with urgency. "You don't want to go where I'm going." Before I could respond, the older me vanished, leaving me alone in the hallway. I stood there for a moment, his words echoing in my ears. I knew I shouldn't follow, but the pull was too strong. As I moved forward, the hallway shifted and changed, the walls seeming to close in around me. Panic began to rise within me. In the distance, I saw the older me again, but this time he was different. His clothes were rumpled, his hair unkempt, his eyes were wild, filled with a desperate fear. He was calling out to me, his voice echoing through the hallway. But as I drew closer, he kept moving away, always staying just out of reach. Then I noticed something terrible. The older me was dragging something behind him, something dark and heavy. With each step he took, the thing dragged along the ground, making a sickening, squelching sound. As I watched in horror, the older me stumbled and fell. The thing he was dragging slid out from under him, revealing its horrifying form. It was me, or rather what I would become. I recognized my own face, contorted in a silent scream, my arms and legs twisted at unnatural angles. I reached out to the older me. I could feel his pain, his fear, and it was mirrored in my own soul. The older me looked back at me, his eyes pleading for help, but then his gaze shifted to something behind me. His eyes widened in terror as he pointed a shaking finger towards me. Then he was gone, leaving me alone with the creature that was me. The creature stirred, its eyes locking onto mine. It began to move towards me, its steps slow and deliberate. With a surge of adrenaline, I turned and fled. The creature let out a guttural growl, chasing after me. I could hear its heavy footsteps pounding on the wooden floor behind me. The hallway stretched endlessly before me, offering no escape. The creature was gaining on me. I could feel its presence closing in, enveloping me in its darkness. Then I saw it. At the end of the hallway, a faint light flickered, a beacon of hope in the overwhelming darkness. With renewed determination, I surged forward. As I approached the light, the creature's growls grew louder, more desperate. I could feel its frustration, its hunger. As it lunged towards me, its claws extended. In a final burst of speed, I reached the light and stepped through. The hallway vanished behind me, replaced by a familiar sight. I stood in my own living room. The creature's growls, gasping for breath. I looked back at the hallway. In its place was a solid wall. I was safe, or so I thought. As I turned to leave the room, I saw the journal lying on the floor where I'd left it. I picked it up, my fingers tracing the worn leather cover. And that's when I saw it. The date on the top of the page had changed. It now read today. Taking a deep breath, I opened the journal and began writing. "Dear John," I wrote, my hand moving across the page. "The house has taken me. Soon it will take you to. Be careful. Don't trust the whispers. There are lies. Try to leave. Try to fight it. But most of all, don't give up hope. You must find a way out before it's too late. You are not the previous owner. Don't let yourself become him. Resist. John, resist and fight. Hope is your only light." I closed the journal, my hand lingering on the worn leather cover. I knew what I had to do. I had to leave this house, escape its clutches, before it was too late. But as I turned to go, I caught my reflection in the mirror. My eyes met my own, and in that instant, I knew I wasn't alone in this fight. I was the previous owner. Time is running out. Drop a comment below. Click subscribe before the house resets everything, including you.